We have a major update in the case of a missing 15-year-old girl considered endangered out of Utah. Police say they have identified a third man who was talking to the teen before she vanished more than a month ago. The man is in his 40s and he's from Utah. Already 2 men, including the man you see here, are facing sex crimes charges for allegedly talking to the girl online. Both men are more than twice the girl's age, and the man you see in custody, he is currently in jail in Texas. The other man who's facing charges, he's still at large, but in a shocking twist, though he is not in custody, he has already hired a lawyer to defend him. We're on the case, presented by Law & Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. Before we get back to this story, I want to bring you a Law & Crime legal alert. If you received a Depo-Provera birth control shot and you were later diagnosed with a brain or spinal tumor called meningioma, you may be eligible for a lawsuit. Morgan & Morgan is investigating claims that patients weren't properly warned about this risk. It's free to check, takes just a few minutes, and you don't pay unless they win. So scan the QR code on your screen, or you can click the link in the description, or go to www.forthepeople.com/LCDEPO to see if you qualify. We have a big update in the case involving missing and endangered 15-year-old Elisa Petrov. Overnight, a newly unsealed search warrant shows that police have identified a third man who Petrov allegedly had conversations with online before she vanished more than a month ago. KUTV reports that third man is named Samuel Mitchell. He is a 41-year-old. He's from Harriman, Utah, which is just about a half hour from where Petrov lived with her family outside Salt Lake City. Police say Mitchell spoke with the teen on Discord and Snapchat. Now, those are different than the conversations she allegedly had with 2 other men who are facing charges. Those conversations were allegedly on Instagram. Police say Mitchell last spoke with the teen just 8 days before she disappeared on April 21st. Before we get into the messages that Mitchell allegedly sent the teen and where the teen said she may be heading, we have to get you caught up to speed in how we got to this point. Police say that Petrov never showed up to school on April 21st after her mom dropped her off. Instead, she was next seen on this surveillance video that was released by police in South Jordan, Utah. She's at a convenience store. From the store, police say Petrov was given a ride by a stranger to a train station, and then she took the train about 20 minutes south to Provo, Utah. And that's where police say they lost her. She was last seen in baggy jeans, a Harvard University t-shirt, a black hoodie, and she was wearing a dark school backpack. She's 5 feet 3 inches tall. Now, right now, there are 2 men who are facing sex crimes in connection to the alleged conversations they had with the 15-year-old before she disappeared. That third man who we just talked about, Samuel Mitchell, he hasn't been charged at this point. But KUTV reports that police say that there was evidence of enticement of a minor and exploitation of a minor on Mitchell's phone. Here's a picture of one of the men who was charged. This is a picture of William Taylor Gleans. He's 37 years old. He's currently in custody in Texas City, Texas, which is near Galveston on the Gulf Coast. Police say Elisa made contact with Gleans using a stranger's phone from a bus station in Utah. Police say she told Gleans that she was safe and for him not to respond. And once police were on to Gleans, they found that he had disturbing sexual conversations with this 15-year-old who he knew was underage, according to police. Gleans was not the first person who police were investigating for having sexually explicit conversations with Elisa Petrov. Originally, they had found on an iPad in the girl's bedroom sexually explicit conversations on Instagram with a man named Matthew Menard. This is the arrest warrant for Menard. He's 35 years old and he lives in Miami, Florida. He is facing 6 charges, including aggravated sexual exploitation of a minor, enticement of a minor, and criminal solicitation in the disappearance of Petrov. A no bail warrant has been issued for him for when he is taken into custody. At the time of this recording, he is still at large. Speaking of, since the last time we talked about this story on Law & Crime, there's been a very interesting development that you don't often see when it comes to the case of Matthew Menard. Menard, again, not in custody, has hired a lawyer. Here's the document a criminal defense lawyer filed in the 4th Judicial Court in Utah. Menard is facing serious charges, as we said. Elisa is still missing, and he also is not in custody. As far as why Menard is facing those serious charges, he sent sexually explicit messages, allegedly, to this 15-year-old girl, and we read through many of those messages in court documents, and I'll be honest with you, some of them are so graphic that I can't show them to you here. Here's what I can tell you. Police first started investigating Menard in the days after Elisa vanished. They were going through an iPad at her home and they found a secret Instagram account where she was talking to a man who only identified as Matt from Miami. Now, according to the probable cause affidavit, Menard knew Elisa was 15, and at one point, police say that Menard asked Petrov, quote, "Are you secretly 15? And Petrov replies, "WTF, of course, yeppers, I'm actually in middle school." Police say after it was established that Petrov was 15, Menard allegedly said, quote, "But for real though, when we meet, we gonna be expletive all night." Court documents show that Menard also allegedly told the girl to send nude pictures to herself, with Menard referring to himself as daddy. Police say for several months, Menard allegedly solicited sex, sodomy, and child sex abuse material from this 15-year-old girl. He allegedly went into detail about sexually abusing the teen, and the lines police say he sent, according to court documents, I will tell you they are sick, and they're so disgusting I can't show you. Menard then allegedly not only was having these conversations with the teen, he allegedly created a plan to have Elisa leave her family and leave Utah and meet him in Las Vegas, where he said he was traveling for a work trip in late May. Now, he also allegedly talks about having sex with the girl in Las Vegas. He then said they would go to Los Angeles for several days, and then she would return to his home city of Miami. Now, police also say that Menard told Elisa about plans to have her avoid detection when they were together, allegedly telling her that they could tell others that the 15-year-old was actually his daughter. Based on what we know at this point, it is unclear if Matthew Menard ever went to Las Vegas. It's unclear if he was ever in person with Elisa Petrov. And it's also unclear whether the two other men who police have identified in having conversations with her allegedly on social media and online, whether they ever met Elisa Petrov in person or know where she is right now. As for Mitchell, the third man who police just identified, police say his username was Samich on Discord. And in the search warrant, Petrov allegedly asks Samich to kidnap her. She allegedly gave him locations of where she was planning to be, including a ski area called Alta, which is southwest of Salt Lake City. Police say the conversations that Petrov allegedly had with this 41-year-old man, that they were sexual in nature, and the teen asked the 41-year-old when they were going to meet up, and that's when they say that Mitchell told the teen that he was sick and he couldn't meet up with her. Now, along with Discord, police say the teen and Mitchell communicated on Snapchat, so it'll be interesting to see between those two apps how much information police can get about the conversations that Petrov was having with Mitchell, or frankly anyone else. Joining us now once again to talk about this case is missing persons private investigator Steve Fisher. Steve, good to have you on. Also just want to start, I know you posted on social media that you've been retained by the family of Elisa Petrov to help in the search for her. What can you tell us about the role that you're going to be having in trying to find this girl?
So I was retained starting yesterday. I am, this case is covering multiple states. It started in Utah, but there's Florida aspects to it, and there's possibly California aspects. So I'm licensed in multiple states, and so they brought me on, mostly for the search aspect of finding Elisa, not so much the investigation into what may be going on otherwise, because South Jordan Police Department is doing a fantastic job uncovering all this information. They certainly don't need my help on that, but as far as getting out and actually boots on the ground searching for Elisa, that's going to be more my role.
Well, and we'll talk a little bit more about that just as we go on, but the big piece of news that came in most recent was that this third man is who police say Elisa was talking to online, Samuel Mitchell, 41 years old. He's from Harriman, Utah, which is about 30 minutes away from where she's from. What do you make? And I know police are the ones doing the investigation and the criminal aspect of this, but how does this complicate the search for Elisa, knowing that it's not just the two people, Gleans and Menard, who are going to face charges?
So originally, we knew a lot about Menard and the plans to, he suggested to meet up in Vegas, and we learned that he was giving her advice about how to remain undetected while traveling. But now, we have another person in the mix, and we don't know, whose advice, she relied on more. It complicates it, because did she go to Vegas? Did she head more towards where this guy was at? Which it doesn't appear, because she did tell him that she was running away, not to contact her. But does that mean that they had a plan to make contact later? Because we know she did with Menard. The plan was, when she got to Vegas, she was to call his cell phone, and by getting that cell phone number that he gave is how detectives were able to figure out who he was and start unraveling this. But it complicates it, because there's different directions she could go, and she could be in California as well, because she does have some dreams or whatever. She's in the dance world and stuff like that, and she actually had some events that were going to be taking place here in California around this time. So there's a lot of places she could be.
Yeah, and as far as I think of Mitchell as well, and what stood out to me was that he, according to police, was communicating with her on Discord and Snapchat, which is different than, to my understanding, Gleans and Menard, that was mostly Instagram. And then I think of Discord, and that's come up in a lot of really controversial situations. And how difficult is it to track someone down? Clearly, police were able to on this one, but to get cooperation from Discord, Snapchat, the messages erase, where it's, do we know that it was just 3 people she was communicating with online?
To be honest with you, I don't have further information, but I doubt it's just the 3. I do believe, from information that I've learned, and I don't think this is anything secret, I think most of it originated on Discord, and then usernames for Instagram and whatnot were shared through Discord. There's games that are like on Roblox, which that platform just comes up over and over and over in these missing juvenile cases. But there's a certain game or games that she played a lot, which are really geared towards teen and preteen females, and these guys are lurking in those Discord channels, knowing that that's where these young girls are hanging out. And so I think that's where the initial contacts were made, and then DMs were sent, and then like, hey, let's take it over to Snap, or let's take it over to Instagram, and from there they're giving out phone numbers. And so I think that's where these predators are lurking.
Circling back to where she may be, when you talk about certain events that she may have had out in California, what do we know about those?
So they were dance events, tied to a large household name brand, which I don't want to really bring into it, but she was into that dance world, like a lot of young teens, or and adults for that matter. And she was passionate about it, and she was very good at it, and she was chosen for some teams. So there were some events coming up in California. She does have some history of living in Southern California, down closer to Del Mar area, down by San Diego. She has friends there. There was a friend that she was in contact with before she left. They've talked to that person, and they don't know anything. It's somebody around her age. And but she could be, it's the thing, we just don't know. California is an option, Florida still, we never know, right? Because in this case, we just don't know. Florida, at the beginning, we thought was a real possibility. I think because, I was able to find evidence where Menard was or weekend before last, that she's probably not there. But Vegas, definitely, I think our intention was to get to Vegas. That's when she got off the train in Provo, she was trying to buy a ticket to Vegas. But then it confuses me, because after that didn't work, she tried to pay somebody to give her a ride to Salt Lake City, which is the opposite direction. So it gets really confusing and complicated to figure out what her intentions were.
So she's 15, Steve, and she is at this train station in Provo. That's the last time she was seen. You know, a 15-year-old can be incredibly smart. It's not like we're talking about someone who's under the age of 10 trying to travel, but how would she be able to get from Provo, Utah to maybe Las Vegas, as far away as California, by herself?
So that's one of the things that I think she was trying to overcome. She had tried to, she actually does have cash on her. She could have up to about $1,500. So she did have some money to survive for a little bit, but she tried to get somebody. She tried to give a person cash in exchange to buy her a ticket, and I think that was because she was afraid of having to show ID and whatnot. So, um, and then when that didn't work, she tried to get a ride, pay somebody for a ride to Salt Lake City, which is going the other direction she was trying to go. So that confuses it. But as far as getting around now, Greyhound, they do ask for an ID, but you don't have to have one. And so she could have, gotten on a Greyhound. She could have, unfortunately, she's trust she trusts people, and so that means she could have been actively asking for rides, and she could have been kind of hopscotched, to wherever she ended up, which I think most likely is going to be the Vegas area, but nothing's for sure.
For you as a private investigator, I mean, you go to Las Vegas, let's say. I mean, how are you able to track down where she may be?
So this is really going to be more like search and rescue type of operation, or like an urban search and rescue. It's going to be a matter of going and talking to the bus stations. It'd be going to outreach centers, youth centers. There are a couple um, places where she might seek to, she likes that whole entertainment industry. So there's places that we can go and see if she's popped up. There's possibly somebody um, that else in Discord that she was actually talking about that lives in Las Vegas. Can't say too much about that, but there's other people, and that's something that hopefully law enforcement will come up with more information on. But my role in as far as Vegas goes will be on the ground, searching, talking to people, and literally looking out for her in an area that we think she'll most likely be, because that was kind of her what she was looking for.
As far as the investigation's concerned, because it was kind of a shocking moment when you found out that there was this third person she was communicating with. I mean, from what we understand, I mean, how likely is it that police know each person she was talking to, or if it's across multiple apps, Snapchat, for example, the messages disappear? How likely is it that police won't be able to know how many people that she was talking to?
I think that they'll have a good idea how many people she spoke with. I just don't know if they're going to know the context of all those conversations, because with this last guy, what we found out is that they don't have the reason he wasn't charged. I mean, the warrant was executed on him, and they're talking about things they absolutely should not have been talking about. However, when they're referencing photos like, oh, that's a great photo, something along that line, the photo is not there because it's been deleted. So it's kind of a tricky situation where they didn't have enough to charge the person, but they know that they were having inappropriate contact. And there's probably, I'm guessing, several more like that, because listen, these, it's so sad, but this world of these predators, they're just like sharks swarming in those social media channels. And unfortunately, these young women are impressionable and trusting, and don't realize that um, these are monsters.
Yeah, truly so. And when you read through some of the things that were said, especially after the fact, according to police and these search warrants and the probable cause on Matthew Menard, the things that were said after it was established in these conversations, she was 15. It's sick to read. Speaking of Matthew Menard, it was surprising to see. This is someone who's not in custody. There's no bail warrant out for him. He is facing very serious charges. He's not in custody, but he hired a defense attorney. How often have you seen that?
Not very often. I mean, literally, a couple cases I can think of where that this has happened has been cartel cases, where they're out of the country. Menard is listen. And I mean this. I truly think South Jordan Police Department is doing an amazing job in this investigation. There's a lot of layers I think to it. I am confused about Menard because there is a no bail warrant out for him. There was contact made with him by Miami Police Department early, long before any of us knew about the case, and they took his phone. They and in a warrant, and then I think then when the charges dropped against him, and there was the no bail warrant, and Elisa was missing. There was good reason to believe that they could have been together at that time, and Menard was nobody could get a hold of him, and he wasn't in custody, and it's thought he's on the run. And then I found video evidence, which I've shared with you, off the channel, from weekend before last. I think it was the May 21st, something around that weekend. Video evidence of Menard partying, at a nightclub, on a yacht, a couple other things. So, and it was from that weekend. So it was really confusing, and it did, give that information to detectives, and they said that and they've said this publicly, so I'm not disclosing any information, but they said Menard is not on the run, which would mean they know where he's at. And obviously, he filed his counsel. These lawyers are hired, filed an appearance on his behalf. Now that can only be limited. There's only so much they can do until they actually surrender him. But I don't know why he has not been surrendered yet or hasn't been gone after. I don't know why there's got to be some twist in the story, because I don't know why they're not putting more pressure on him to be surrendered. If they know his location and he hasn't surrendered by now, I think they should get him.
In the cases where you've seen this, what type of leverage would he have as a suspect against police where he hasn't turned himself in? Though police, I know that you just said, I mean, like they know where he is. So it's kind of this question of like, what's going on and what's the holdup when there are all these charges. Like, these are serious charges he's facing. Like, this isn't some like white collar tax crime where you see people kind of
Right.
negotiate their release. I mean, these are very serious charges. And it appears that there's a strong, from the text messages we saw, I mean, the evidence is pretty strong. So what type of leverage would he have in this type of situation?
So I'm not so sure he has any leverage so much as he's nothing really to lose because there's a no bail warrant. Although he may have had something to lose, because he could have had his attorneys go in there and really fight, to have a several $1 million bail, maybe, to get that changed. But I think by not surrendering himself, he probably has waived that. And maybe their thinking at this point is, listen, it's a no bail warrant, so let's learn. His attorneys might be like, let's learn as much about the case as we can. Let's try and find some small things to chip away at. Let's build our case now with you out of custody, or our defense with you out of custody. But I hope they're being more aggressive. I don't know. Maybe it means he left the country and they know where he's at, but extradition process can be a little tricky, so they'd rather have him self-surrender. Or maybe there's another twist, we don't know. But I don't know how there can be a twist that would help him, because listen, he gave his name, or he gave his phone number. All comes back to him. It doesn't, I don't think there's any case to be made that his devices were hacked or anything like that. So, but it's confusing because South Jordan Police Department, again, they're doing a great job, and they're executing these warrants. They are trying to find out all these people. I just don't know why it seems to be a slow process to get him behind bars.
And for you now working with Elisa's family, I know I've reached out to her dad, and he's done some media, and you just can't imagine what this family's going through. But just how are they, just to, all this information's coming to light. They certainly want their daughter to come home. It's been more than a month since she's gone missing. Just how are they doing?
It's just like with virtually every family I deal with, thoughts are going a million miles an hour, and they're trying to process the fact that she's gone. This is not easy material to read, even as an investigator. And I know you said as a reporter. I mean, the stuff Menard and Glean's said to this girl is just, it's hard to read, and I see it all the time. It still is shocking. And so for them to have to read it as parents and then understand that, I'm sure there's some question of like, why did she want to leave the house in the first place? And then, or could she be something happened to her. It's and they're also now playing investigator, which every family does. I get it. It's like law enforcement says, hey, just let us do our job, and as investigators, we ask them the same. But it's also kind of an impossible thing for a family to do. They want to learn as much as they can because they do know her best. It affects them, and she's got a brother I talked to yesterday. It's affecting him, and if she is online a lot, and so if she's monitoring any of this, I just want to really stress that she's not in trouble, and she's not in trouble with her family, and her family loves her very much and just wants to hear from her.
Yeah, and you hope she gets that message, and she can go home, and this family can be together. There's just a lot of layers to this story since we first started talking about it, from the people that police say she was talking to online, to just certainly the overall question is, where is Elisa Petrov? And I know Steve Fisher, missing persons private investigator, you're on this case, and hopefully can be able to bring her to safety of her family. Thank you, Steve, for taking the time to be with us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Petrov's family, and you just have to think of what they're going through right now. They have been very vocal in trying to find information about where their daughter may be. Here's a website that they launched with pictures of Elisa. There are flyers with information on where people can go with tips. They're offering $20,000 as a reward. They also have a message for their daughter on the website, and I'm going to read it for you right now. It reads, quote, "Elisa, if you can see this, please know that we love you. We will always love you. We miss you. All of your friends and our friends are very worried too. We all want you to come back home. You will not get in trouble for running away. We are not mad at you. We absolutely love you regardless of what happened, and you are welcome home at any time." That will do it for On the Case, presented by Law&Crime. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify. I'm Chris Stewart. We'll see you next time.